Thank you for joining us for Finding the Gaps, Locating and Reporting Unscheduled Records, a records management seminar delivered by the United States National Archives and Records Administration's National Records Management Training Program. In this session, Stephen Rhodes discusses Presidential Directive Item 2.5 requirements. Now, let's join the seminar.
I will now pass it over to Mr. Jeff Benson, who will get us started, and then Steve Rhodes will take over.
Great. Thank you, Paulette. Yes, my name is Jeff Benson. Paulette and I both work for the National Records Management Training Program for the National Archives and Records Administration. Today's topic is you can see on the slide there, finding the gaps, locating and reporting unscheduled records. And again, this is all related to the Managing Government Records Directive. In today's particular session, it's 2.5. The purpose of these briefings is to give you a chance to learn about how to comply with each of these steps, how to meet those deadlines, ways that we can help you as a resource to meet those particular deadlines. So that's really the topic of today's briefing. Our presenter today is Stephen Rhodes. Stephen has been in information sciences since 1978. Has a degree in library science, worked as a law librarian for a number of years. He's been with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, since 2004, and he's currently a senior records analyst. He's in the same building as Paulette in College Park, Maryland, where they're enjoying that sort of early summer weather there in D.C. So without further ado, I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Stephen. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Stephen Rhodes, and welcome to the encore presentation of Finding the Gaps. I am the project team lead for the 2.5 reporting requirement for the Records Management Directive. So first, a little background. How did we get here? You probably already know this, but just for a little review, President Obama signed a presidential memorandum on managing government records on November 28, 2011. This directive requires that, to the fullest extent possible, agencies eliminate paper and use electronic record keeping. It's applicable to all executive agencies and to all records without regard to security classification or any other restriction. This is the first major records management initiative signed by a president since President Truman signed the Federal Records Act in 1950. Now, as a result, since it has to do with managing records, especially managing federal records, the National Archives has the responsibility of specifically implementing the directives. On August 24, 2012, the Office of Management and Budget and the National Archives issued a memorandum. That's OMB NARA M-12-18, and that's the last time I'm going to refer to it under those numbers, under the Executive Office of the President, outlining the specific steps agencies need to take to comply with the Presidential Memorandum on Managing Government Records. As part of the OMB NARA directive, there are two sections that are requiring reports from federal agencies and reports that will be due by the end of this year. Section 2.2 states that the senior agency official shall ensure that permanent records are identified for transfer and reported to NARA. My colleague Jimmy Greenlee made a presentation on Section 2.2 yesterday, and I believe it will be available widely soon. Section 2.5 is what I and my team have been concerned with, and that states that senior agency officials shall ensure that all records are scheduled. So turning to the 36 CFR and the federal regulations for NARA, you're already responsible as federal agencies for scheduling your records. What do we mean when we say federal records need to be scheduled? This is all federal records, including those created or maintained for the government by a contractor. They must be covered by a NARA-approved agency disposition authority, an ERA record schedule, or the NARA General Record Schedules. Specifically, 2.5 says that by December 31st, 2016, the SAO shall work with the agency records office to ensure record schedules have been submitted to NARA for all existing paper and other non-electronic records. So in other words, the records that you identify right now in your agency as being unscheduled, you have another 3 years to get those scheduled and submitted to NARA. But your immediate goal is that by December 31st, 2013, you need to identify all of your current existing unscheduled records. And this should include all records stored at NARA or at federal record centers or agency record storage facilities or commercial storage facilities that have not been yet properly scheduled. How to meet this requirement? Well, again, we're going to ask you to identify unscheduled records at agency offices, federal record centers, off-site storage facilities other than the FRCs, agency record schedules, and so on. We're going to suggest that you use an inventory to help you identify these records, and so we're going to be offering a inventory webinar sometime later on in the year. And NARA is sending out reporting tools for electronic and textual records to help you identify and report on the unscheduled records at your agency. So there are two reporting tools coming from the 2.5 project team. Part A covers unscheduled records held at federal record centers. We're going to provide each agency with an ARCIS report showing the unscheduled records at the federal record centers and their location. The release of this spreadsheet is imminent. It should be within the next 2 weeks, and that'll be coming directly to you. You don't need to report back to NARA on federal record centers that have your unscheduled records, because we're going to be keeping a copy of that. Part B is the reporting tool for agency records stored in non-NARA facilities. And for this, you are responsible for completing fields in a reporting tool. This also should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. The final submission for Part B is going to be December 31st, 2013, and it's going to be an attachment to your records management self-assessment. You, of course, will have support from the National Archives for any issues or questions or difficulties you may encounter. Okay, so here's what the reporting form looks like for federal record centers. You notice that it's green, and we've got a little bit of a color differentiation between the 2.2 reporting tool, which is blue, and ours, which is green. This will be coming to you again within the next couple weeks, and it will be filled out by an ARCIS report, so you need do nothing more with it as far as reporting back to NARA. The unscheduled records reporting tool for federal record centers does not include unscheduled records held in agency offices or non-NARA off-site storage. You're going to be receiving an ARCIS report, and unfortunately here we have the original date we were going to send it out, which was May 17th, but for one reason or other we didn't get it out. NARA will receive a copy of the report as it is released to the agencies. The fields on this report for the FRCs will include the record group number. This is the record group assigned to your agency by the National Archives. The transfer number. This is the number assigned to each agency records transfer to a federal record center. And here you have an example of what the transfer number would look like. A record series description, just a general brief description of what the records are. It may say something like aircraft records, architectural drawings, that kind of thing. That's what we mean when we talk about a record series description, not a full paragraph. The general records type, whether it's paper, it's film, it's electronic, photographs, movies, you name it. The fields also include the actual volume, that's the number of cubic feet in each series that's been transferred to the FRC, inclusive start date, an end date, and we're going to identify which federal records center in the country identifies these records. Unless there's some sort of correction or change that needs to be made to the information on the form, again, the agency is not required to send this form back to the National Archives. Now, our second form is the Part B form, and this is what it looks like. As part of this form, we have, in some fields, a drop-down menu where all you'll need to do is click on a particular item, and it will automatically fill in the field. We also, for information purposes, have drop-down information boxes, and here, although you probably can't see it very well, we've got an information box for the creating office. So, again, this covers unscheduled records located at agency offices or non-NARA off-site storage facilities. It includes electronic records, so it replaces the e-scheduling reports that we've been requiring from agencies for the last couple years. The Part B tool you must complete and submit it to NARA, and do so by December 31st, 2013. Agencies with classified information should contact their appraisal archivist. We know that you're a little leery about sending your information back to us, so we will make special arrangements to receive any classified information. The fields in the reporting form include the record group number, which again, this is a unique number NARA assigns to each federal agency. This should be the record group number for the records, not necessarily for the current agency. An agency may have unscheduled records from a predecessor agency that had a different record group number. So you want to keep that in mind as you're filling out the form. Most agencies will use a 2- or 3-digit number. Please express this number as 3 digits by adding leading zeros if necessary. So for example, the record group number for the Department of Energy is 434. There's your 3-digit number. Second column you need to complete is the creating office. This is the program office responsible for creating the record series, and that uses the records primarily for business purposes. Record series description, again, brief description, don't need a full paragraph, just a couple of lines or one line. Column 4A, the type of records. We're providing you with a choices in a drop-down list. If the records are all of the same type or format, please choose from the list. The formats include textual records, sound recordings, maps, charts, and so on. If your type of record is not on the list, you'll choose Other, and we're providing a second column in 4B where you can describe the records to the best of your ability. If your unscheduled record series includes multiple types, please make that choice and again explain it in 4B. And if you can give us any additional information in that field, like the motion picture films are in color, sound recordings are analog, data files are on tape reels, please do so. Column 5, the actual volume in cubic feet. This calls for a number. You don't need to add CF or CUFT after that number, which is just going to automatically assume that the number you put in that field is in cubic feet. And note, one standard Federal Record Center box is equal to 1 cubic foot. This field 6 is the start date, which is the date of the earliest records in the entire group of records. Please give us a 4-digit year, inclusive end dates, the most recent date of the records in the series. Please respond with a 4-digit year. And where are these records stored now? We'd like you to tell us to the best of your ability. We know that agencies use a variety of storage sites to store records. So we've provided possible answers in a drop-down list. Again, for additional information, we have a companion field, 8B, to complete if you use multiple locations or other. We want you to give us the names, location, and full agency staff contact information for all storage sites where the agency may store unscheduled records. You can type this information also in 8B. We want to let you know that the National Archives will not directly contact anyone at these storage sites. We will always contact the agency records officer first. By providing this information, you document for your agency where these records are stored as of 2013. And this information may be useful in the future when storage vendors or agency office locations change. Field 9, customer reference number. This is the unique tracking number that's used at the storage facility for the unscheduled records. And we know this particular number can vary wildly depending on who's operating the storage center. Status. At what stage of the scheduling process are the unscheduled records? Is a schedule pending within the agency? Has a schedule been submitted to NARA? Has the scheduling process begun, or has no action been taken at all towards scheduling? 11, we provide you with an additional column for any information or comments you may have for the National Archives. So now we're going to take a close-in look at the Form B. Here's the Part B reporting form. unscheduled records in non-NARA facilities. Up at the top, we have a little reminder about what the requirement is, that you identify unscheduled records by December 31st, 2013. Next to that, if you have questions, we do want to hear from you. There's an unscheduled records mailbox at nara.gov, to which I and my entire team have access to. So we will respond if you send us a question. And we also have a hotline number if you prefer to give us a call. So beneath the header, we have the first fields that you'll need to fill out, and this is for the person who's going to be completing the form. So let's just take a look at that. This isn't anything terribly complicated. First name, last name, your agency, what is your title, your address, city, state, zip code, and your email address. Okay. Now, unless you have a lot of unscheduled records in your agency, you'll probably only be filling that out once. So let's get down to the record group number. And if you click on that, you'll see that there's an information box. And this tells you type in your record group number, and it gives you an example of the Department of Veterans Affairs, which is record group 015, and again, get a 3-digit number. So let's just type in any record group, and I used the Department of Energy earlier, so let's try that. Okay, the creating office again. Click on creating office, and you get a little information box. Type in the office or bureau that creates or maintains these records. So who's responsible for the record copy? Who's creating this particular record series? And we're going to say fossil fuel. Record series description. Again, information box. Type in a title or description of the series. Briefing books of the Assistant Secretary. And we're going to say correspondence. Now, under type of records, we have a drop-down list. You click on the down arrow, and you'll get a list. Let's see if I can drill in a little bit more on that. Make a little bit of adjustment. All right, now hopefully you can see this a little bit better. And here's our list: architectural and engineering drawings, data files, maps and charts, moving images, photographs and other materials, sound recordings, textual records, and multiple types. So I'm going to click on textual records, and the field is filled in for me. There's 4B for any additional information that you might want to communicate with us regarding the records. And we'll say these are Word perfect documents. Okay. Annual volume. Again, we've got a box here to help you understand what we want. Number of cubic feet occupied by the records. Let's say 15. Okay. First year of the series. Here again, information box includes the date for the first year of the series. And I'm just making this up as I go along. Last year of the series, again, information box. And then where are these records stored now? We have, again, we've got a drop-down list. Click on the down arrow, and here are your options, which are agency record storage facility, agency office space, commercial storage facility, multiple locations, and other. So let's click on other, and then under 8B, we'll type in additional information. Okay. Moving on to the next field, the customer reference number. And again, this is going to be something that's going to vary depending on who you're storing the records with. You may have an agency storage facility. I know some agencies do. You may be storing with a commercial facility. You may have some other storage facility you're using, like Bob's storage facility on Route 1 in College Park. So we'll just type in a random made-up number, although we want you to use the real number. And then we're asking you for the status. Again, we've got a drop-down list. Click on the arrow. Schedule written but not submitted. Schedule approval pending. Schedule approved. No scheduling completed. Okay. And then our last field, we've got additional information or comments where you can type in pretty much whatever you want. And then after you've completed the first one, you're ready to start on the next line and report on additional records. So that was a demonstration of completing Form B. So sometime in the summer or early fall of 2013, we're going to be offering an inventory webinar. And I want to make clear that we're not saying that you have to do an inventory. In fact, we realize that for many larger agencies, conducting an inventory is a pretty daunting task, and you probably wouldn't get it done before the end of the year. But for smaller agencies, it may be an option, and we want to offer that option to you. So in this webinar, we're going to define an inventory. We're going to identify the key factors used in establishing the scope, focus, and requirements of an inventory. We're going to identify the key inventory elements that need to be collected, what you need to find out in order to complete the form. Explain the general guides on how to conduct an inventory, and we'll review the reporting tool in light of conducting an inventory. So that concludes my presentation for today. Again, for questions, we have our unscheduled records at NARA.gov mailbox, and we also have a hotline that you can call for additional information.
Karen said something in the chat box. She said, will NARA be providing agencies with an inventory tool for consistency and ease of completion for the inventory?
We'll be going over that in the inventory webinar, and we can certainly provide an inventory tool for you, like a reporting sheet. We have several examples that we can give you.
Are there repercussions for not completing or participating in the exercise?
Well, of course, we're anticipating that everybody is going to be turning in their reports on time at the end of the year. As far as repercussions, this is a joint NARA-OMB directive, so what would happen would probably be determined after the end of the year in consultation between OMB and the National Archives. I would like to emphasize, though, that while we are requiring you to report on unscheduled records, we're well aware that you may not be able to fill out all of the fields in the reporting form. So we're asking that you complete it as much as you possibly can. But if you have to leave out some information because of time, or you can't get to the program office, it's in a field office, or just a variety of other factors, if you can't get all of the information, just send in what you do have available, and you'll be fulfilling what we're asking you to do, which is just reporting on the unscheduled records. Remember, this is going to be directed towards scheduling the records, and that's the scheduling piece doesn't have to be complete until 2016. So again, just complete it as much as possible. Okay, what category of unscheduled records would be reported if scheduled approved is selected? Well, good question. We offered that option. Yes, Patty asked, aren't the records now scheduled? They are indeed. That would be towards the end stage of the unscheduled records process. So we're asking you to report back that the previously unscheduled records have been approved, although you can make an argument that if the schedule has been approved, you don't need to put anything on the reporting sheet for unscheduled records if it's already been scheduled.
Okay, these are great questions. Nancy says, why is there a push to provide records that are currently unscheduled?
The idea, once the President signed the directive regarding records management, the idea was that NARA develop a method by which agencies can work towards the fully electronic mode. And we thought of different means of working towards that, and identifying the unscheduled records was one of the means of helping the agencies fulfill their requirement. You've always been, as an agency, you've always been required to schedule your records. And for the past couple of years, we've asked for a status of your e-scheduling every year, which would include unscheduled electronic records. So we're just extending it a little bit to include all formats, and hoping that by scheduling these records, you'll be working towards a fully electronic agency in terms of records.
Hey, Michael Bainbridge brings up an important point. He says unscheduled records also have to be treated as if they are permanent and must be kept, not destroyed until a schedule has been approved.
Exactly. So it is in your best interest to identify unscheduled records, particularly temporary ones, so that you can work towards disposing of them, because the records take up valuable space. If they're in storage, they're costing you money to store. So it's, and Michael continues, it is a financial incentive to schedule so that you can dispose.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this seminar useful. For more information about the U.S. National Records Management Training Program, please visit www.archives.gov. Also, our current workshop schedule for both face-to-face and web-based training is available online at nara.learn.com.